On the outskirts of a forgotten town stood Ashwood Manor, its towering spires cloaked in ivy and shadows. The townsfolk whispered about the house, recalling tales of its tragic past. A wealthy family that vanished one stormy night, leaving nothing but their echoing laughter behind. When Claire inherited the manor from a distant relative, she was skeptical of the rumors. Determined to restore the dilapidated estate, she moved in, armed with a flashlight and a sturdy broom. On her first night, a violent storm raged outside, sending gusts of wind that howled through the broken windows. As Claire settled into the creaking old armchair, she thought she heard whispers drifting from the hallway. Shrugging it off as the wind, she focused on her plans for the house. Yet, the whispers grew clearer, words mingled with laughter, echoing through the halls. She shook her head, attributing it to her imagination, but unease curled in her stomach. The following day, Claire explored the dusty rooms, uncovering remnants of the family who once lived there. In the attic, she found a trunk filled with old photographs and a diary belonging to a girl named Lila. The last entry spoke of a hidden room where the truth lies. Intrigued, Claire set out to find this elusive chamber. As night fell, the atmosphere shifted. Shadows flickered, and the temperature dropped. When Claire reached for the light switch in the hallway, the bulb exploded, plunging her into darkness. Heart racing, she felt a cold breeze brush past her and a whisper, clear as day, "Help us." Driven by curiosity and fear, Claire rummaged through the diary again, finding a cryptic clue about a hidden entrance behind the grand fireplace. That night, with a flashlight in hand, she pried open the fireplace's bricks, revealing a small door covered in dust. With a deep breath, she pushed it open. The room beyond was dimly lit, filled with strange artifacts and old furniture draped in white sheets. In the corner stood a full-length mirror, its surface clouded with grime. As Claire approached, she caught a glimpse of movement behind her in the reflection, a fleeting shadow that made her heart stop. Spinning around, she saw nothing. But the whispers returned, now frantic and desperate. "Find us, before it's too late." Claire's instincts screamed for her to run, but a deeper curiosity rooted her in place. She examined the artifacts, finding a locket with a familiar face. Lila. Suddenly, the air thickened, and the temperature plummeted. The whispers crescendoed into frantic screams as the ghostly figures of the family materialized around her, their faces twisted in anguish. Claire realized their souls were trapped, their fate tied to the manor. The room darkened, and Claire felt a cold hand grasp her wrist. "Release us," Lila cried, her eyes pleading. In that moment, Claire understood. The family had been cursed for their greed, and only by revealing the truth of their disappearance could they be freed. Racing against time, Claire dove back into Lila's diary, piecing together the family's dark history of betrayal and jealousy. As the specters closed in, their whispers transforming into anguished cries, she found the final passage that spoke of a hidden treasure in the manor, one that had led to their downfall. With renewed determination, Claire located the hidden vault beneath the floorboards of the parlor, where the family had hidden their ill-gotten gains. As she pried it open, the room trembled, and a blinding light erupted from within. The spirits surged toward the light, their anguished faces softening into expressions of relief. "Thank you," Lila whispered as they vanished into the glow, leaving behind a profound silence. With the spirits finally at peace, Ashwood Manor transformed. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a warm, inviting aura. Claire knew she had not just inherited a house. She had released a family trapped by their past, freeing herself in the process. As she stood in the now quiet halls, the whispers faded into memories, and she could finally call Ashwood Manor her home. Claire spent the following days in a tranquil daze, the weight of Ashwood Manor's dark past lifted. With the spirits at peace, the house seemed to come alive again. The sun streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating the ornate moldings and faded wallpaper. She started to decorate, bringing fresh flowers into the once somber rooms, laughing at how quickly the manor transformed into a warm, welcoming space. Yet, as the days passed, A sense of foreboding crept back into her heart. One evening, while arranging books in the library, Claire stumbled upon a hidden compartment in the wall. Inside lay a collection of letters, yellowed with age, addressed to Lila from an unknown sender. The letters spoke of hidden secrets and a looming danger, suggesting that Lila had known more than she had let on before her family vanished. Curiosity gnawed at Claire. She read through the letters, piecing together fragments of Lila's life, her dreams, her fears, and the growing unease that had overshadowed her family. One letter hinted at a dark figure that had been watching Lila, someone who had lurked in the shadows even before the night of their disappearance. Determined to uncover the truth, Claire decided to dig deeper into the manor's history. The following morning, she visited the local library, where dusty records and newspapers chronicled the events leading up to the family's disappearance. As she pored over old articles, one headline caught her eye: "Tragedy strikes at Ashwood Manor. Family vanishes without a trace." The article detailed how the family had been involved in a series of disputes with a rival family, the Graysons, known for their ruthless business practices. It hinted at jealousy and betrayal, weaving a tale of greed that might have led to their undoing. Claire's mind raced. What if the malevolent presence that Lila had sensed all those years ago was tied to the Graysons? That night, as she returned to the manor, an uneasy chill filled the air. Shadows seemed to stretch and flicker, and the wind whispered through the cracks in the walls. Claire decided to confront the unsettling feeling head-on. She gathered the letters and Lila's diary, determined to connect the dots. As she read the letters aloud in the parlor, the atmosphere thickened. The fireplace crackled, casting dancing shadows across the walls. "Who is this dark figure?" she called into the stillness. "What happened to you, Lila?" Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and the lights flickered ominously. Claire felt a rush of cold air sweep past her, sending shivers down her spine. The whispers returned, but this time, they felt more urgent, filled with a sense of warning. "Beware," they echoed, resonating through the walls. With her heart pounding, Claire searched the room for any signs of the figure Lila had written about. As she turned, she noticed a portrait on the wall, the family's last official painting. There was something off about the man in the corner. His smile seemed predatory, his eyes gleamed with malice. Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging her into darkness. Panic surged within her. "This isn't funny," she shouted into the void. In that moment of fear, she heard a soft rustling behind her. She turned, and the faint outline of a figure emerged, illuminated by the faint glow of moonlight filtering through the window. It was a shadowy form of a man, his face indistinct but his presence unmistakably menacing. "You shouldn't have come here," he warned, his voice a low rasp that sent chills down her spine. Claire's instincts kicked in. She grabbed the diary and flipped through its pages, searching for anything that could help her understand this entity. As the man advanced, the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony, urging her to remember Lila's last words about the truth. Desperate, she shouted, "What do you want? Why are you here?" The figure paused, its form wavering as if struggling against an unseen force. "The truth must be uncovered," it hissed, and Claire felt a surge of determination rise within her. She would uncover the secrets of Ashwood Manor, not just for herself but for Lila and her family, no matter the danger that lay ahead. With her heart racing, Claire knew she had to confront the past if she ever hoped to find peace in the present. And as she turned back to the diary, a chilling realization struck her. The more she uncovered, the closer she would get to facing the very darkness that had haunted this house for decades. The battle for Ashwood Manor had only just begun. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. Claire's heart raced as she clutched the diary, feeling its worn leather cover beneath her fingers like a lifeline. The shadowy figure shifted, almost fading into the shadows, but she stood her ground, summoning all her courage. "What do you mean? The truth must be uncovered," she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The figure seemed to hesitate, as if weighing its next words. The Graysons, they were not just rivals. They were a plague. They wanted what the Ashwoods had, and they took it at a cost. The The voice echoed through the room, and Claire felt the air thicken with dread. Cost? What do you mean? She pressed, her pulse quickening. They took more than land and wealth. They took lives and buried secrets, the figure whispered, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. Find the ledger, it holds the answers. As quickly as it had appeared, the figure began to dissolve into the shadows, leaving behind an oppressive silence. Claire's mind raced. A ledger? She recalled seeing a mention of it in one of the letters, something about a record of debts and deals hidden deep within the manor. Determined to uncover the truth, Claire headed to the study, where she remembered seeing an old, ornate desk. Perhaps the ledger lay hidden within its drawers. As she rifled through the papers and old ink bottles, she found nothing but dust and forgotten memories. Frustrated, she leaned back in her chair, glancing around the dimly lit room. That's when she noticed a loose floorboard beneath the desk, its edge slightly raised. Heart pounding, she pried it open, revealing a small compartment. Inside lay a weathered leather-bound ledger, its pages yellowed and filled with meticulous handwriting. As she opened it, the scent of old paper filled the air. The first few pages detailed the Ashwood family's financial dealings, but as she flipped further, the entries grew darker. There were records of suspicious transactions with the Graysons, bribes, threats, and mentions of the pact. With each entry, Claire's stomach churned. The ledger revealed a web of deceit that tied the Ashwoods and Graysons together in ways she never imagined. And then she found it, the entry that sent a shiver down her spine. March 12, 1910. Under the full moon, an arrangement was made. The Graysons demand more than wealth. They seek the Ashwood legacy, a blood pact. Failure to comply will result in dire consequences. Claire's breath caught in her throat. A blood pact? She remembered Lila's diary entry about the night everything changed. It wasn't just about greed. It was a curse, one that had shackled both families to this haunted place. Suddenly, the room temperature plummeted again, and a familiar voice echoed through the air. You must end this before it claims you too. The figure reappeared, more defined now, the urgency palpable. End what? Claire shouted, clutching the ledger to her chest. What do you want me to do? The Graysons' malevolence must be confronted, the spirit urged. Only then will the cycle break. They are still out there, watching. You have awakened the past. Fear gripped her. The Graysons? Still here? Claire glanced out the window, half expecting to see figures lurking in the shadows. How do I confront them? Seek the truth hidden in the garden, the spirit said, its voice growing faint. It lies beneath the ancient oak. Time is running out. With that, the figure dissipated into mist, leaving Claire alone in the study, the weight of its words heavy on her shoulders. She felt an overwhelming need to act. Ignoring the growing chill, she hurried to the garden, her pulse quickening with each step. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the tangled overgrowth. As she approached the ancient oak tree, its gnarled roots twisted like the very secrets it guarded. Claire knelt down, her hands trembling. Digging into the earth, she felt a cool, hard object beneath the surface. With effort, she unearthed a small, rusted box, its lock long since broken. Heart pounding, she opened it, revealing a collection of brittle papers, each one more disturbing than the last. They detailed the Ashwood family's darkest secrets, their betrayals, their fears, and a list of names that sent a chill down her spine. Among them was Lila's name, crossed out. Claire's breath caught as she read the final entry. The final sacrifice must be made to seal the pact. Panic surged within her. Had Lila been the intended victim? Was that what had caused the family's demise? The air crackled with a sudden energy, and Claire felt the weight of the past pressing down on her. She knew she had to act, but the whispers grew louder, swirling around her in a frenzy. Remember the pact, they chanted. Remember your bloodline. Desperate for answers, Claire looked around. The garden felt alive, almost as if it were holding its breath, waiting for her next move. She couldn't let Lila's fate repeat itself. But how could she break the curse without knowing the true price? Just then, the shadows shifted, and Claire felt a presence looming behind her. She turned slowly, dread pooling in her stomach as she saw a figure emerging from the darkness, the last person she ever expected. Claire, the figure called, voice smooth yet chilling. It was a member of the Grayson family, standing at the edge of the garden, a predatory smile on his lips. You're meddling in affairs far beyond your understanding. It's time to make a choice. Claire's heart raced. The stakes had just been raised, and she realized that the battle for Ashwood Manor was far from over. The truth would demand a price, and she was about to find out just how much it would cost her. Claire stood in the garden, the weight of the locket pressing heavily in her palm. The whispers of the spirits lingered, a haunting melody that both comforted and unsettled her. She could feel the energy of Ashwood Manor pulsing beneath her feet, a reminder of the history and heartache intertwined within its walls. With a resolute breath, she pocketed the locket and turned toward the house. The door creaked open as if welcoming her back into its embrace. She knew she needed to gather her thoughts and plan her next steps. She headed to the library, where the remnants of Lila's diary and the ledger still lay scattered on the table, waiting to reveal their secrets. As she reviewed the entries again, a sense of urgency gnawed at her. The ledger spoke of deals made in shadows, but Lila's diary hinted at something deeper, a connection to the Graysons that might hold the key to breaking the curse for good. If there was a way to free both families, Claire had to find it. She remembered the portraits lining the hall. Could they hold more than just faces? Perhaps they contained hints, stories trapped in paint. Determined, she made her way back to the parlor, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows across the walls. Standing before the portrait of the Ashwood family, Claire examined it closely. The colors were faded, but the eyes of the woman in the painting, the matriarch, seemed to follow her, almost pleading. She reached out, tracing her fingers along the frame, and felt a slight shift beneath her touch. With a gentle push, the frame tilted, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside lay another journal, smaller and more ornate than Lila's. Claire's pulse quickened as she opened it, the pages filled with elegant handwriting. This was the journal of the Ashwood matriarch. The entries were dated back to the early 1900s, chronicling not just the family's daily life but also the tension with the Graysons. The matriarch described a growing fear, whispers of a dark pact that had been forged without her knowledge. They seek to destroy us, one entry read. But the truth will rise with the moon, and our legacy will not be lost. Claire's breath caught. The matriarch had known of the darkness looming over them and had sought a way to protect her family. She flipped to the last entry, written in a hurried scrawl. If the time comes when our blood must atone, let the daughter bear the burden and reclaim what was stolen. A chill crept over Claire. The matriarch was speaking of her, of a daughter destined to face the shadows. Could it be that she was the one meant to reclaim the family legacy? Suddenly, the candle flickered violently, and the whispers crescendoed, echoing through the parlor. Claire felt a rush of cold air and instinctively turned to find the shadows coalescing into a familiar figure, the spirit of the Ashwood matriarch, her translucent form shimmering with urgency. "Claire," she said, her voice a gentle caress, "you are the key to breaking this cycle, but time is fleeting. The Graysons will not let you go easily. You must gather the strength of those who came before you." "But how?" Claire asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "I've already released Lila, but the Graysons still loom. What can I do?" The matriarch's gaze softened. "There are others, souls trapped in the limbo between worlds. Seek them in the garden. They will help you. You must uncover their truths, confront their fears, and unite the legacies. Only then can you sever the chains that bind us all." The shadows twisted again, and the matriarch began to fade, but not before adding, "Remember, Claire, not all truths are easy to bear. You may face the darkest parts of your own heart." With that, she vanished, leaving Claire with a mix of determination and dread. The garden, her next destination, held the answers she sought, and perhaps the allies she needed. She stepped outside, the cool night air refreshing yet charged with an electric tension. As she made her way back to the ancient oak, the whispers intensified, beckoning her forward. "Find us," they urged. Release us. Kneeling beneath the sprawling branches, Claire closed her eyes, focusing on the energy that pulsed around her. She remembered Lila's spirit, the warmth of her presence. I'm here, Claire whispered. I'm ready to help you. Show me the way. The breeze rustled the leaves, and suddenly, a soft glow emerged from the roots of the tree. Claire's eyes flew open as she saw wisps of light coalescing, forming shapes that danced and twirled around her. One by one, the spirits of the past began to materialize figures of the Ashwood family, their faces serene yet filled with longing. Thank you for calling us, one of the spirits said, stepping forward. It was Lila, her smile radiant and full of hope. We have been waiting for you to uncover the truth. What do I need to do? Claire asked, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. You must listen to our stories, Lila replied. Only by understanding our pain and our choices can you set us free. With a nod, Claire steadied herself. The spirits surrounded her, their energies intertwining with hers. As they began to share their tales, stories of love, betrayal, and sacrifice, Claire felt the weight of their histories wash over her. She learned of the Ashwood family's struggles against the Graysons, of a forbidden love that had sparked the rivalry, and of the choices made in fear that had led to tragedy. Each story revealed the pain that had bound them to the manor, a cycle of despair that had repeated through the generations. As the last story came to an end, Claire felt an overwhelming surge of emotion. I understand now, she said, tears brimming in her eyes. You've been carrying this burden alone for too long. Now it is your turn, Lila whispered, her voice echoing softly. You must confront the Graysons and uncover their truths. They hold the key to our freedom. But how? Claire asked, fear creeping back in. What if they try to stop me? They will try, Lila acknowledged. But you have the strength of your ancestors behind you. You are not alone in this fight. Taking a deep breath, Claire felt a newfound sense of resolve. She would confront the Graysons and uncover the final truths that bound their families together. But first, she needed to prepare. She needed allies, knowledge, and a plan. As the spirits began to fade, Lila's eyes shone with warmth. We will always be with you, Claire. Trust in yourself. And remember, darkness cannot extinguish the light of truth. With their words echoing in her heart, Claire returned to the manor, ready to gather her thoughts and strategize. She would call upon the strength of her ancestors, armed with the knowledge of the past and the spirit of those who had come before her. The next confrontation with the Graysons loomed ahead, and she knew that the fate of both families rested in her hands. With determination burning within her, Claire set forth on her quest, ready to reclaim her legacy and uncover the final secrets that would bring peace to Ashwood Manor once and for all. Determined to confront the Graysons, Claire spent the next few days preparing. She gathered evidence from the ledger, Lila's diary, and the tales of the spirits. Armed with their stories and the locket, she knew she had to confront them at their estate, a grand, foreboding mansion that loomed at the edge of town. On the night of the full moon, Claire arrived, her heart racing. As she knocked on the heavy door, it creaked open to reveal the Grayson heir. A smug smile plastered on his face. I was wondering when you'd come, Claire. Enough of this, Claire said, stepping inside with conviction. It's time to end the cycle of revenge and fear between our families. He laughed, but there was an edge of uncertainty in his eyes. You think you can change anything? The pact is still in effect. I know the truth about the blood pact, she replied, holding up the locket and the ledger. I know what your family did to mine. The lies, the betrayals. It ends now. As she spoke, the room grew colder, shadows gathering around her. The whispers of the spirits filled the air, their energy palpable. Claire pressed on, recounting the stories of loss and suffering, revealing how their ancestors' choices had trapped both families in this cycle. The Grayson heir's expression shifted, the bravado fading. You don't understand the consequences, he said, voice wavering. If you break the pact, it will destroy everything. Everything that was built on lies deserves to be destroyed, Claire declared. It's time for a new legacy. With that, she raised the locket, feeling the warmth of the spirits surge through her. The shadows writhed, and a blinding light erupted from the locket, engulfing the room. The energy surged, uniting the two families' histories, transforming anger into understanding. The Grayson heir staggered back, realizing that Claire spoke the truth. The shadows receded, replaced by a calm light as the whispers transformed into words of forgiveness and release. In that moment, Claire felt the weight lift, a surge of peace washing over her. The pact that had bound their families for generations shattered, freeing both the Ashwoods and Graysons from their dark history. As the light faded, Claire and the Grayson heir stood amidst the remnants of their family's legacies, forever changed. "We can start anew," he said quietly, understanding the path ahead. Claire nodded, knowing that healing would take time, but the burden of the past had been lifted. Ashwood Manor stood resilient, its spirits at rest, and the darkness that had haunted their families for so long was finally banished. With newfound purpose, Claire stepped into the future, ready to embrace a legacy built on truth, forgiveness, and hope. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.